Hi, it's Tracy. Welcome to my home here in Sussex, England, where Christmas decorating continues. This episode, we are kitchen decorating. We're going to pop over to the auctions, so we're going to be doing some thrifting there. We're setting the Christmas table, and because this is the very last episode of the Christmas decorating series and of 2024, there's going to be a house tour of the Christmas decorations. Welcome to the kitchen and the very last room I'm decorating this season. Now, during this episode, you're going to see a change in the fridge freezer. After 15 years, it has died on me, and I have tried desperately to get it repaired, and they say it can't be done. Quite why, I don't know, but unfortunately it's got to go. And I'm really quite gutted because I had it coloured in order to match this kitchen. It was black originally. So the new one will be arriving later in the episode, and it is a very different style. Now, last week we were in the kitchen decorating the Christmas tree. Let's just have a little bit of a flashback on what we did there. So the tree went into a box. The topper went on first, which I always put toppers on first. Then 2,000 lights. Obviously everything being overseen by the furry supervisor, Bertie. Some large cheap baubles were wired in the back. I then added sprayed hydrangea heads. I've been using these through all the Christmas decorations along with the golf balls that I transformed. I added some lace bobbins and some homemade baubles and crystals that I took from some old wall lights. Now, at the bottom of the tree, I wrapped up old boxes that I'd been saving with some brown paper and gold ribbon and clippings from the garden just to finish it all off. Now, I may come back and do something with the white dresser that sits behind the tree, but first of all, let's go outside and get some greenery in order to decorate with. Now, regulars here will know that normally when I come down to the field, I've got Bertie with me. Well, today, Bertie is missing in action. My husband's had an operation, nothing too serious, but Bertie won't leave his side, so he's very much Dr. Bertie at the moment. So I'm out collecting greenery and twigs all by myself. I'm also going to use some more of the bark as well that we've been saving from this tree that we had to take down. It has served me so well through all the Christmas decorating. So let's get this back into the house and onto a big old sheet. This really helps contain all the mess, and trust me, when you're working with fresh greenery and twigs like this, it does create a bit of a mess. So the sheet helps to corral everything. Now, we're going to start off with my big pine dresser. All the items you see on the top of it here came from HomeSense over the years. The bus, I always look out for those. They're very rarely in these days, but if I see one and I like it, it definitely comes home with me. The great big twig wreath, I get asked so many times, did you make it? Do you have a tutorial on it? I wish I did, because I absolutely love them. No, I bought them from HomeSense. They're normally in this time of year, so do have a look. They are well worth the investment. I'm not using any fixings up here, no command hooks, no glue gun is out. I'm just using the objects that are up there in order to prop things in and around. And because it's so high, nobody's going to be touching it. Now, I'm using my last few bits of dried eucalyptus along with the fabulous pampas grass that was originally brown, tried to dye green, and it came out golden. So that has worked really well. Obviously, the hydrangeas are going to be repeated again. These are used all year round, and these will be used again, and I'll just spray them a different colour. Now, I think my man here needs a bit of ribbon. We've been using 4 different ribbons, and I'm going to go with the green velvet on this dresser. As we move along to the other side, you can see the twisted willow with the copper lights and the golf balls, more of the golf balls. I love those golf balls. There was a little bit of green ribbon left, so waste not, want not. The lamp is getting a bit of a dressing, and then just some fresh greenery in the pot at the end with some pine cones. Now, I decided actually it needed a little bit more, and I haven't done a lot of decorating with books this Christmas. So I think a few nice green ones there, just as a little platform, a little bit of elevation on that pot, and it brings in a pop of the green on that side. Now, this basket was a set of 3 that I found at auction a few years ago. So I'm using my old trick of saving all my packaging and using that to stuff in the bottom, cover it with hessian, and then add some pine cones. But I want to add something else as well. Now, these are really old baubles. I did a lime green and orange tree one year. So these haven't seen the light of day for quite some time. So I'm going to add those just to give a little nod to the colour scheme that we're using, along with some more ribbon. Dr. Bertie has popped in to see how everything is going. He is obviously the furry supervisor. He keeps walking around with soft toys and taking them to my husband, obviously trying to make him feel better. Back to the white dresser behind the Christmas tree. Now I'm going to add some more of the copper lights that I love to use. I used these last year, and actually I use museum wax just to keep the end of it in position. And museum wax you can use again and again. Here's last year's piece, so I'm going to reuse it. I was going to add greenery to the faux stone pot that I made, but actually I think a hydrangea head is quite enough there. And I've got the candles that Lena sent me from Portugal. Thank you so much, darling. I really love them, and they work beautifully on that dresser. Now I've brought a few more clippings in from the garden, along with my chicken wire roll and a few other little bits and bobs. But before we get on to doing some more greenery arrangements, I want to work on the sink island. After all, we spend a lot of time at the kitchen sink, so we might as well have some nice things to look at whilst we're there. Now I'm bringing in another auction find. You've seen me style with this in the cottage, the guest cottage that we have, but I thought it might be a nice change to bring it into the kitchen. To follow the metal theme, I'm going to add a couple of brass candlesticks either side of the taps there. And my pop-up socket, which is so useful but not very pretty, I'm adding a Welsh butter press. I recently spotted this in a charity shop for just £5. It's solid oak, and I thought that's going to be so useful. I was thinking of stripping it back, but actually as I've got some dark wood there, I think that's going to be a nice addition in the middle. And now I'm going to bring out some chocolates. These are my husband's favourites. Let's move over now to the big mirror behind the coffee station. Now on here I'm going to add some lights, and this year I invested in some waterfall lights. I got 5 sets of these. So with the waterfall lights and the museum wax, I'm going to create an effect on the mirror. I'm going to hang these where the connector is at the top. I'm going to tuck that behind the mirror. The mirror is just propped up on the countertop. And then using the museum wax, I've sprayed spread out all the different strands. And of course, when you put lights in front of a mirror, you end up with double the twinkle. We're going to work right along the countertops now. And first of all, I'm going to start off in the corner with the great big pot. This was originally found at Home Sense and it was a very light terracotta. So I did my very watered down stone effect on it to lighten it up. Now I am reusing the twigs and the chicken wire that I used in my fall display. If you've been with me for a while, you will remember that one. It was the one with the great big lampshade that I did on the dining room table. And I really hate waste. So when I take these things apart, everything gets saved and then used in a different way. Again, I'm reusing Hessian to cover all that chicken wire and then hanging some little clear glass baubles. Always put them on a skewer and that way it stops those little ones getting all knotted up. I've got 6 of these boxes in 3 different sizes. Now you've seen me use in the porch and out on the veranda the middle size ones. The bigger 2 have been used to put the Christmas trees in. And now it's the turn for these smaller ones. They are really old, but the 2 smaller ones are much cleaner, so I'm quite happy to use those in the kitchen. The plastic tubs from last year's Christmas chocolates are coming out again. These have been so useful all year round, as is a little bit of chicken wire. So I can just pop some water in there, push it back into position, and then I'm going to create an arrangement with fresh greenery and a few other bits and bobs. It's so good to be finally using these boxes again. I think they're about 15 years old. I used them in the house for a few years and then fell out of love with them. And they've just been either in a garage or in a storage shed. And now they're finally out this Christmas. Now, before I do any more there, I'm going to move over to this corner and add a couple of items and just see what kind of balance I'm getting. Now I'm going to use a faux candle here because these countertops are really quite deep. So having to light a candle and blow a candle out is just not going to work because I'm constantly going to be up and down steps. So the faux candles that are battery operated are great for this type of thing. You know, it's all very well making spaces look pretty, but you have to look at the practical aspects as well. Now I'm going to add some more of the copper lights. And I'm just going to run these all the way along the countertops, weaving them through the chopping boards and then leaving some surplus at the far end because I'm going to be doing some more decorating down there. I'm using old kitchen bowls in this one because I've used all the plastic tubs from last year's Christmas chocolates. Now, I was planning on doing a wreath or a swag on this mirror, but I actually think I'm going to leave that because I like that long reflection that it creates. So I'm just going to decorate at the bottom. I'm using an old trug that I picked up at one of the antique fairs that I went to. A couple of jars just to elevate something and shoving in that old packing material. Don't throw your packing material away. You will need it. Honestly, you need it. I'm going to add on some more of the Hessian. It keeps that theme going through, and some of the bark from the deceased tree. I thought this one was particularly unusual. I have dried it in the oven and that's killed off any of the bugs. I've added faux candles, the remote control faux candles. They're my absolute favourite, and I will link them below for you, into candlesticks that I just found at a charity shop. And then a few Christmas baubles, shiny metallic, because metallic is very much a theme this year, along with the hydrangeas. Now, I like a ribbon. I like a great big ribbon, a really long ribbon. I just love doing these really long tails and letting them luxuriate. And as there was one last little piece on the roll, let's waste not, want not. It's coming together, but we've still got the big wooden island to do, and we've got to do the table. So before we do that, let's just take a moment to check in on Bertie, because I'm sure he's taking his duties really seriously, looking after Daddy. Okay, let's pop over to the auctions and have a good old rummage around. I'm particularly looking for things that I can bid on that potentially I could incorporate into the Christmas decorating. It's a new day and I have woken up to the most beautiful sunrise. We get wonderful sunrises here. This is my happiest time of the day, down in the field in my pajamas with a coffee, having a wander around with Bertie. It is also a beautiful morning in the kitchen. The sun is streaming through and I've just had notification that the new fridge freezer is coming today. I went back to the wooden dresser and I've added some copper lights just laid on the surface there. And that means that that ribbon tail that was running off to the sides, I've moved to hang down at the front. Now, auctions, we got 2 lots. I've been over to collect, so let me show you the first lot. Yes, it is the copper jugs. And there's also a pewter coffee pot as well. Now, the auctioneer said these are Victorian. There are certainly lots of maker's marks and marks on them. Normally, I would spend time researching all of the marks. I just haven't had time. So if you do know anything about these, then please do let us know in the comments. Now, I'm going to use a mirror that I've been using out in the porch. So when we were Christmas decorating the porch, I decided that as lovely as the mirror was, I wanted to do something different in this place. So I took it away, gave it a really good clean and popped it in my storage shed. But actually, I think it's going to work great on the island here because the reflective surface with the copper pots are going to create a really lovely sparkly effect. That's the theory anyway. Let's see if it works in practice. So I'm going to angle these all different ways so the handles are all going off on a different direction. So far so good, but I think we can do a little bit more than that. I'm going to add some oriental spruce. I love the shape of this. A little bit of water because they are watertight, and also these very thin copper lights that I've been using. I bought 3 sets and they're battery operated, but where to hide the batteries? Oh, genius! I'm loving this, but will the remote control still work? Yes! Now, I was so excited, I forgot to tell you, I paid £60 for them, including the coffee pot, which will come out on another day. Let me show you the next lot. I got all this red transferware. Now, I got this at a price that you will just not believe. There are 150 pieces here, varying ages, varying designs. And I know lots of you out there go mad for red transferware. This is all English, all ironstone. Oh my goodness, I could not believe that I got this haul. It's fabulous, and I thought it'd be really fun to lay it all out to show you. And then I'm going to tell you how much I paid for it. Can you guess? Can you guess? I paid £30, £30. That's 38 USD, and in euros about 36 euros for 150 pieces. Happy days. Now I'm going to get this in and give it a really good clean, and let's have a closer look. This was obviously somebody's beloved collection, and there's a real hodgepodge here, a real mixture of things. Huge amount of cups, but then not a lot of saucers. Now, I've got to be honest with you, I don't really know a lot about red transferware. It's not something I've ever collected before, but I do think it's going to be fun to style with. So I'm going to show you some pieces, and then maybe you can educate me. pieces that had damage to them. So these soup bowls were missing handles and had the odd chip. But then I thought they'd be quite fun to style with outside. I can imagine putting a few little spring bulbs in these. I thought this jug was really sweet. I could definitely see me using that and using that in the house as well. I think it's going to be great fun to style throughout the seasons, particularly spring and summer with these, because some are much redder than others. Others I'm seeing as a pink, so very spring-like, very summer-esque. Or I may just sell it. Hubby quite fancies doing a stall at Ardingly Fair, so you never know, we might be turning up there one day. Anyway, for now, we are going to use a little bit of it to style the Christmas table. I have a huge amount of muslin. I bought this for my daughter's wedding, and it was to be used to run down the centre of the tables. And after the wedding, she was in the middle of a big house build, so it all came back to my house, and it's just been there ever since. I fancy changing the colour, so I'm going to use one of my Dylon pods. And as we're very much green and golden metallics this year, I thought going the olive green might work. And look, it has worked beautifully. I also threw in some napkins and a towel because I realised I didn't have a Christmas towel. Oh, the shame of being a content creator for home decor and not having a Christmas towel. Will I ever live that down? To sort out the overspill at the end of the table, I found the easiest way to deal with this is just to snip a bit and then rip. I do have plans for this offcut and the other piece that I dyed as well. Now on top of that, I'm going to lay a piece of mirror. Now to ensure that I'm placing it down in exactly the center position, I've already measured that point and marked it with a dot. The dot I am lining up with the center of the table. Now this mirror I have had for many years. It was during a house build. Well, you know the old adage of measure twice, cut once? Well, I had a builder who was very much the other way, so I got to keep the surplus bits that didn't fit. I've got 5 vintage decanters that I picked up in a lot at auction, and they normally live over on the big white dresser that's behind the Christmas tree, Big Mo, because they look so lovely against the vintage mirror that's on there. So I'm going to use that same technique of having the glass near the decanters, but doing it on the table. I think crystal decanters are very much not in fashion at the moment, so they're really quite easy to pick up in charity shops and auctions. Now to those I'm going to add my vintage brass candlesticks. I love decorating with these, and the way I like to do it on a table is sort everything out first and then move it into the center position. I've got the old museum wax out again. It's your decorator's friend. You need it in your arsenal. And I'm going to run just simple off-white candles all the way along. Now, obviously, some of the decanter openers are too wide. So the brass candlesticks, some of them have these little inserts in, and I thought they'd be ideal just to pop in with a little bit of museum wax to hold that candle in position. And again, we've got one other there that is slightly too wide for the candle. The decanter stoppers I'm going to leave on the glass to use as crystal ornaments. Now, before I do anything else to the centerpiece, I'm going to lay some table settings. So some of the red transferware is coming out. I'm using the dinner plates and some side plates. Then I thought it might be nice to mix it up with some more ironstone. Now, finding vintage crockery, this is not my first rodeo, darling. I have got form. I have got a set of vintage burlyware in the Davenport design of embossed strawberries and grapes, all in white ironstone, and I'm going to mix it up here. And I got 196 pieces for £35. I'll just leave that one hanging there. Now, another auction find are these, what I assume are dessert bowls, but do you know what? We're going to rebrand these. We're going to call them champagne coupes. That's what they look like to me, champagne saucers. So who says that you've got to have long stem glasses on your dinner table? Here are some of the napkins that I dyed. Now, I bought these when I was down in Cornwall. They were blue and red, and because they were 100% cotton, I knew I was going to be able to dye them. So I thought, well, let's go green. And an alternative to using napkin rings or fancy folding techniques is just tie a knot in it. It's different, it's quirky, it will get your guests' attention. It also means you're going to have less clutter on the table because it's one less thing, the napkin rings, to have there. Now, I'm quite happy with all of that, but I am going to now put out some cutlery and I'm going to set for 2 courses. As I set these out, I'm constantly adjusting the positions just to make sure that everything is balanced. And of course, you can't have a Christmas table without Christmas crackers. These were from HomeSense. I'm also going to now add some baubles and I'm going to go back into the center of the table and start working on that area again. Keeping with the theme of green, gold and metallics, I'm going to use some of the gold ribbon that we've been using and do nothing more complicated than just drape a huge length along. To ramp up the twinkle, I've got my 3rd and final set of these very fine lights. And the batteries, they're hidden. Shh, don't tell anyone. Time to replace the chairs, but we are not quite finished. So the fabric, the little bit that I had left and the other length that I dyed, I'm going to rip it. I'm ripping off lengths and tying bows. The new fridge freezer has arrived, but first of all, we've got to get the old one out of the house. Now this is an absolute dead weight. I cannot tell you how strong these 2 gentlemen are. They were absolutely superb and they made the whole process super simple. Not a thing was damaged and they got my new big, beautiful Italian Smeg into the kitchen without a single mark on it. Absolutely delighted with it. What do you think? Now granted, it's money I didn't want to spend. We were perfectly happy with the old one, but we are absolutely in love with the new one. Now, I think it's time we did a bit of a house tour and showed you all the decorations. Come on, Bertie, time to welcome your guests. As we approach the end of my second year on YouTube, I'd just like to take this opportunity to say a heartfelt thank you for all the love, support and laughter you have given me over the last 2 years. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. God bless.